Welcome back to the Forex Fortress, of which we are wrapping up a very crazy week around the world. Plenty to talk about, but a big focus is going to be on the weekly closures. Maybe we even look at a daily as well, but not so much focus on the lower term timeframes as well. You only get one weekly closure a week. So with that in mind, we'll start off with Dixie, and Dixie's still coming down to that macro area. And if it is going to start to actually reverse from this region, it's likely going to take some time. You do see the last few lows put within this region over here, and coming out of the 2011 base over here, and it's actually settled within that region. It typically does take time. So if it is going to reverse here, I would be looking for a lot of spikes within this region, even below $92, but no closures specifically, no closures below about 92 and, beef coming up, 92 and about 10 cents. And I'd be looking for it to take some time as well. So with that in mind, is there anything to be gained off the daily right here? Nah, it's basically telling us the same thing as well. So fair enough. I keep a keen eye on that region, but for right now, it's not that helpful because realistically, we need to actually trade what asset is in front of us. Or of course, I mean, this is not financial advisor, not a financial advisor, but what I like to do right now is just go by one because I'm not really getting much off of the Dixie chart until we get those areas really solidified, which is only going to take, I guess we'll see the actual closure later today, and that can come up with, that can kind of help out the next week. But moving on into Aussie dollar, my favorite shitcoin right here. I'd be looking for, it's not that I'd be looking for, but any sort of a weekly closure above 72, what is this, 72 and a half? About 72 and a half. Wherever the 200 simple moving average is right here, which is, about 72 and a half. And I'd be looking to extend this run coming into the next couple of weeks up to about 73 and a half, maybe even extend that all the way up to about 73 and 3/4. Looking at momentum oscillators, looks like weekly Stokes want to cross back up, rejecting the bearish control zone in that case, and also hitting bullish divergence along the way as well. This run could get extended quite a bit more, but long term, I'd actually still be bearish on it. Or I should say macro, I'd still be bearish on it. But yeah, medium term coming into next week, very likely bullish for another move to the upside. Moving on to CAD dollar right here. What do we got? Same sort of thing. Any sort of a closure above the 200 exponential average, in this case at 76 and 30. Yeah, 35. Then I'd be looking for an extension on this run towards the prior high at about 77 and all the way up to about 77 cent even to 77 and in a quarter coming into next week as well. Swiss franc dollar. What do we see here? This one actually looking a lot stronger, and it looks pretty, it's one very likely to break out, looking pretty fucking good. And what do we see? Any sort of a closure above 110.60, and I'd extend targets up to about 112.20 to where is that number? 112.80ish region, up towards this blue box right here coming into the next week or two. And I'll be looking for a pullback somewhere based off this region right here. But again, looking at momentum oscillators, look at this. What do we have? Hey, fucker, get over here. Yeah, weekly Stokes back in the bullish control zone, crossing back up. Weekly RSI looking good as well, back in the bullish control zone, hard to hate. So fair enough. I probably would be looking for this one to extend a little bit more. Moving on to euro pound right here. What do we see? I'd be looking for a little bit of short-term upside on this one as well. Bouncing around the weekly 21 right there. Daily, I think, looks a lot more obvious. Likely does initiate a medium-term target sometime into early next week, somewhere around about a little under 91 cent. It looks like. Moving on to euro dollar, my favorite piece of garbage. Oh god, I really dislike this one right now. If you don't understand, I'm an American who gets paid in dollars, or I guess that's just my main currency, and I live in Europe, so you can do the math on that. Looking at the weekly right here, technically speaking, has it confirmed a breakout just yet? No, it hasn't, but I'll just put the puzzle piece together. Weekly Stokes looks like they want to cross back to the upside. They're holding to the bullish control zone. That kind of says something itself. Hidden bullish divergence is going to be initiated very likely with any sort of a closure anywhere above 117.5. And while technically speaking, I do want to see a weekly closure above 119.10 in order to denote the next continuation phase. This one's looking a lot like it really wants to do it. And the next target's the upside, assuming that it does meet that criteria by the end of today. I'd be looking for a move towards about 121, and I don't think it's going to stop there, to be honest with you. Very likely it will actually move further into time, somewhere around about 1.25. So for right now, yes, we're at a big pivot here. I'm curious what the monthly looks like right now as well. Oh, I really dislike you. Euro dollar. But yeah, fair enough. Probably going to get another try up here. Again, do want to see the weekly closure, but yes, things are looking more or less good. And a golden cross along the way as well on the weekly. Fuck. Anyways, moving on to the pound yen. Weekly, heavily bearish. I'd still be looking for this one over the next couple of weeks. Come down to about 133 and quarter, 133 and 32 cents, somewhere around there. Pound dollar, same sort of setup right here too. Any sort of a closure above the 200 exponential moving average at 131 and a quarter. I'll be looking for extension up into the next couple of weeks towards around 133 and a half, maybe all the way up towards about 134 and a half. Same signature here. You're seeing the same signature along all of these assets. Weekly Stochs up, weekly RSI looking good, back above the exponential. Hard to hate, man. Hard to hate as it is right now. But again, I still need to see all the weekly closures on these. It's not a done deal just yet. There's still little more than 7.5 hours left on the trading day. Yen dollar, what do we see here? Another one of the more strong ones alongside Swiss franc dollar. And I'd be looking for this one. I believe actually we hit our target from yesterday. Yeah, somewhere around 96 and some odd, or what was it, 96.69, great number. Any sort of a close here, I don't even care if it closes here or not. I'm looking for this one to get extended up towards 97.5 into the next week or two. Short-term pullback probably does bring it back down to like low 96 cent even, but that's very likely to bounce there, I'd say. Anyways, of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Did I already say that? Probably yes. Anyways, doesn't matter. Let's go on to NASDAQ. NASDAQ's really interesting here too. Ugly chart, but or at least with all my drawings on it. Any sort of a closure, especially above 12,000 bucks, I'm looking for new all-time highs coming into the next week or two. Any sort of a closure above 11,800, I'm still most likely looking for new all-time highs coming into the next week or two. And it's the same fucking signature here that you see along the other ones. Back in the bullish control zone for the weekly Stochs, crossing up, hidden bullish evidence, looks like it wants to play out as well. Hard chart to hate while the RSI gets back into the bullish control zone here as well. Nice one. Moving on, what else do we got? We got gold. Nice. Let's go check out some gold action over here. And gold did hit our, it did hit our 1960 target. Would I be looking for a short-term pullback, maybe back down to like 1940 or 1950? Yes, possibly, but I don't think that that's what I'd be concerned with right now. I'd be looking for this one, assuming that it closes anywhere above 1950 to end this week. I'd be looking for it to travel up, actually almost towards about 2,000 bucks coming into the next week or two. Now on to Bitcoin, I guess. It's time for some Bitcoin action, baby. And actually what I'm going to start off with is over here. Any sort of a weekly closure on CMEs, which is happening today at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time in 7 hours and 51 minutes. So I hope that lines up. Otherwise, I need to get my timing better. But any sort of a closure above the top side 200 band, which for reference is 14,000 and about 400, we'll just round up there. And I'd essentially be looking for a new high in this run coming into the next week or two. And probably does travel its way up to the mid, maybe even upper 16,000s. So that's the big focus for this. But following up on the short-term timeframes from this morning, I do believe I said I was looking for a pullback somewhere down around about 1,500, give or take 100 bucks. And we did get a pullback there, but not exactly to where I was looking for, 15,300. No closures below that pivot. And so what happens now? Well, if you're bearish, you're looking at this as a descending triangle, which, to be fair, it does have a lot of the characteristics of a descending triangle. And with the weekend coming up, I would expect, or I'd say it'd be more ripe to expect a little bit of fuckery going on right here, and we can make a little bit of a target based upon this. However, and that would actually line up perfectly with about 15,000 bucks. So if that were to play out, so to speak, first things first, I want to see the weekly closure, because that's going to set in the bias whether I'm essentially looking to buy pullbacks for the long term, or I guess it would be the long term more immediately, or whether I'm looking for a greater consolidation sideways and downwards, probably somewhere between where we are right now and all the way down to like 12,000 bucks. But of course, as long as the weekly close above the top side 200 band, which again, 14,400, I'm essentially looking for new highs on this run. So with that in mind, that would set in the bias for the short-term, medium-term time frame trades. And essentially, this is kind of how I'd be looking at it right now. Any sort of an hourly total closure, not below 15.5. It was really 15.450, and I rounded up this morning, and that's probably going to come off really fucking bad now, unfortunately, which I do apologize about. But sometimes I just say things to like get them out fast. And in this case right here, it still holds, still a pivot. And as long as that area does hold, I would be looking for this one to, technically give it another try back up to about 15.9. But as you can see right now, a little bit of short-term downside dramas. And if we do break 15,450, even on an hourly, even on a fucking hourly, I would look for this greater pullback, or it's not even a greater pullback. It's like a short-term pullback. But because the ranges are so fucking big here, it's quite the move actually. It's about a $500 move right there. Down to like 14.9-ish region. So I would be looking for another bounce based off that region as well. However, looking at the current price action, On the very low term timeframes, it actually does look like it wants to give another try back up towards, like I said, 15.9. But as long as it does kind of hold this stature as a descending triangle, I would say that that is obviously in play. Here's the thing, though. Here's where things would make me short-term bullish, because I'm very cautious right now to be looking for a continuation above this level right now, especially looking at the weekly, seeing as we are kind of coming into a macro area. You know, we did kind of back test this weekly open right here, or sorry, I guess it would be this weekly open right here. Actually, did we? It was 16.2. We got up to 16,000. Close enough. It's close enough in that case. But you know, I'd be very cautious within this region, as you know, like I said, I'm very likely to look for Bitcoin to work its way onwards and upwards over time. But it's right now the best time to be doing such things when we look at all the lower term timeframes and we see momentum oscillators all on the same side. 4-hour Stokes down, 3-hour Stokes down, 2-hour Stokes down, hourly Stokes down, and fair enough, you know. Oh, actually, nice little move right there. There you go. So we'll see how it reacts at this next test of this region. Actually, it might even happen right now. Oh my God, girthy red dildo showing themselves at the current moment in time. This could be interesting, but by the time that I post this video, probably will already have played out and done whatever the fuck it's gonna do. So yes, if you do see an hourly dildo closure, oh my God, we're actually very close to that 15,450 pivot right now. Then yes, I would look for another move down towards about 15,000, give or take $100, and another short-term bounce there. Now, like I said, if it does close above this high right here, 15,900, I would look for an official test towards 16,200 to 16,300. I'll say something that I said about 2 weeks ago as well, and I'll just hopefully we're in like the TA nerd session of the Forex videos. What I actually think is going to probably happen here is you're probably going to see it go sideways into the closure for today. Coming into Saturday, you're probably going to see a move to the upside somewhere around like 16,200-ish region. And then either late Saturday or early Sunday, you're going to see that move just absolutely catastrophically fail if you don't see this area actually break down today. And we will come back down and test around that upper $14,000 level. But depending on the way that CME is closed today for the weekly, that could potentially turn into a long-term buy. So fair enough. That's kind of what I have in store right now, but I suppose the pivots are relatively well situated. In fact, I would even go as far as saying that instead of using 15.9 to the upside, or actually if I'm using an hourly, I probably would use 15.9 to the upside, driving that next move towards 16,250, I think it was. If you're going to use a buy hourly, you could use this right here instead. It's only $50 lower, or sorry, it's about $150 lower, so you know it's not too crazy, but you know it's just the next higher time frame essentially. But it would be 15,750 driving the next short-term move to the upside. But for right now, if I had to call it, I do think that short-term, it probably comes down here, and hopefully the weekly doesn't close below 14,400. We can still have some more fun times coming into next week. So for right now, I want to wish you the best and the happiest. Take care, and until next time.